Welcome to TW Sports Talk, another edition right here in the YouTube channel. Talking about some Philadelphia Eagles today and the Monday night win with now Mark Sanchez as the starting QB
Yeah,
for the
Marky Mark.
Philadelphia.
Marky Mark.
Mark, yeah, however you wanna, yeah. So Sanchez, some people say, and yeah,
Or
Mister,
the butt fumble
yeah,
still he's a pretty good bell.
yeah, old butt
It,
fumble,
it's funny. I was watching a top 10 ranking on the NFL Network again, and it was like the top 10. I feel it was like the top 10 quarterbacks that showed promised early in their career, but then
and
just
then failed. Yeah,
felt it. And Mark Sanchez was like on that list.
yeah,
Like first two seasons, AFC Championship, and
yeah,
all of a sudden we go through the butt fumble now.
yeah. Yeah, and in the process of all road games in those playoff games, where he got to the AFC, a couple of those wins, against Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, ironically enough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean that was actually the weirdest thing too was that I think the first year they were a 6 seed, I believe.
yeah, wild card.
Yeah, and they beat Cincinnati. That I remember
Yeah,
when Chad Ochocinco was playing in
yeah,
the NFL. Um, they beat Cincinnati, and then they beat San Diego, which was the 1 seed, which shocked me a bit because a lot of people thought that was going to be
yeah.
Phil Rivers' year finally.
Ladanian, like still in his prime.
Yeah. But once again, defense came through. Even though I think it came down to I think it was Sean Green. It was on a 4th and inches,
Yeah,
and New York decided to go for it because they converted it. Game over,
yeah,
and instead of kicking a field goal, which would have been like I think it was a 45, so it would have been a long field goal. And you miss it, you give the Chargers a chance to maybe go down because I think they only needed a field goal to win the game too. So
yeah,
they decide, hey, might as well go for the first down because we get it. Game's over. They have no timeouts left in
yeah,
the other team. So and then they faced Peyton Manning and the Colts, who were just destined to go to the Super Bowl that year, pretty
yeah,
much. And he ended up coming up short, pretty much.
yeah.
And then I think they were a 5 seed, and they beat, ironically enough, the Colts, who were a 4 seed, and then they
And
beat
then
the
the
Patriots, who
Patriots,
were, I believe, they were a 1 or 2 seed.
probably a 1 or 2. Well,
No,
Pittsburgh was 12-4 that year, if I
yeah, yeah,
and yeah, New England. I mean, New England was probably if you had to guess, I mean,
yeah,
they were probably a 1 seed.
yeah. So the Jets go to Foxborough and win there, and then they end up crapping out against the
The
Steelers
Steelers,
then.
yeah,
And then
and of course,
now I love those two teams, the Colts and the Steelers, both lose the Super Bowl those
yeah,
years. They lose to
in
the
those consecutive
Saints and the
years,
Packers,
yeah,
which would be a ring for Breeze and Rodgers, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and then of course, ironically enough, Mark Sanchez goes against Aaron Rodgers this week as far as quarterbacks in that game, but yeah, that's like a brief history of Mark Sanchez there.
And then and then
High draft pick and how he started his career off, and then
yeah,
yeah,
then it's kind of like it got
yeah,
worse every year gradually.
yeah, and that regime, and I mean, you look at where the Jets regime is now. I mean, granted they
Although
totally upset Pittsburgh this week, but
probably the
but yeah,
shocker. I mean, it wasn't like Michael Vick was laying it up on the stat sheet,
yeah,
but I mean, he did make some pretty big throws in that game,
yeah,
and the defense was for the Jets were able to put pressure on Roethlisberger the whole game. I
yeah,
mean, and we're talking about the Big Ben guy, that threw 600 yards the last two
couple
games
games,
too.
yeah,
So very impressive for the Jets. Great, their season's over, and I still think Rex Ryan's out. I mean,
yeah. I mean, how can they?
unless he can convince the management to say, which is what Chris Johnson's been trying to tell people, is that, hey, if Vic would have started from the game, we might be a playoff team right now, maybe,
Yeah,
instead of Geno Smith, maybe. But I don't know. It wasn't like Vic was laying it up either on the field, but that was a big upset there. Obviously, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you love that because
yeah.
now all of a sudden you're top the door.
Cleveland just shocked Cincinnati last week and shut them down.
Destroyed them.
So yeah,
It wasn't even
on
close.
Thursday Night Football.
Brian Hoyer was laying it up, and Andy Dalton, who was also on that list, even higher than Mark Sanchez,
Yeah,
as kind of his top 10 quarterback teases, as
yeah,
in they teased the
right,
organization. And Andy Dalton, they said, was, look, the guy can be electric in the regular season, has not won a playoff game yet in his career
yeah,
yet. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there.
yeah. But yeah, but as far as Mark Sanchez goes, I mean, pretty solid first performance for the Eagles. I mean, what did you see that
I mean, he had
he
17
was,
incompletions. I mean, it
which
was.
is character? Yeah, I mean
I
that's
mean, I think his QBR was like in the 60s, which isn't really that impressive. I
yeah. I
mean,
mean,
the offense did rush for 37 total yards.
yeah,
To me, the key of the game was that Cam Newton threw 3 interceptions
yeah.
and just he didn't look himself at all out there. I mean, I don't know what happened with Cam in that game.
Yeah. I mean, he's banged up, definitely, but
I mean, Grant, I blame the franchise for the Panthers falling apart this year. They took
yeah,
away all his like best players, not just on the
yeah,
offensive side, even the defensive side. They took away a lot of big guys too.
yeah,
I mean, besides what was it, Luke? Ah, shit, who's the top guy? I mean, he leads the NFL in tackles, believe it or not. I mean, they're
yeah.
but besides that guy on they have. I mean, obviously, Greg Hardy's a different
They
story.
start, yeah,
But they besides injuries but they got rid of some pretty big guys from last year's defense that actually was also a big reason why they got the 2 seed
last year,
last
yeah,
year too.
and they were
So
they were a hot team. They started 1-3 last year,
yeah,
and they went 12-4. Now this year they started. Didn't they start 3-1 or
yeah,
something?
yeah. They actually even beat the Lions,
Yeah, they beat the
who are 7-2
yeah,
right now,
yeah.
and actually could be the 1 seed.
If they
They
beat
beat Arizona. They're the 1 seed, I believe now.
yeah, they'll be like in that that area to
And
maybe get the
Palmer's down and
yeah, he's done.
is
They got to
done for the
bring out
year. I
Drew
mean,
Stanton.
Stan didn't do bad, but I don't think he's gonna be
Yeah,
like the golden ticket to the
yeah,
Super Bowl for them though
yeah,
either. Which once again, with Seattle now looks like on fire on all cylinders again. They got 2 meetings with them coming up.
yeah.
Seattle all of a sudden finds himself back in that.
They got a tough yeah. In the Cardinals, they have a tough schedule down the stretch. I know.
They are what 8-1 though.
Yeah, I mean they should still make the play. I
Yeah,
mean,
I would be shocked if they missed it.
yeah,
If they do, it's going to come down to the fact that Palmer got hurt and Stan came in. He couldn't handle the downstretch of the schedule pretty much. Is how
yeah.
they're probably going to word it probably. But I think with the talent they got around,
The defense,
I
yeah.
mean, the running game's questionable. That's about it really for them. But they still got they got a
John Brown,
John Brown, Life
yeah,
of Shell. They got a solid wide receiving core,
yeah, definitely,
and it was like Stanton. I mean, Stanton started when they beat the Niners one time this year. So the guys had some big
yeah,
wins on his schedule too. So I don't think let's put it this way. I don't see him winning the division now. I think Seattle or San Francisco is going to catch. So one of them is going to catch up to him.
yeah. One of them may rise up.
For me, it's Seattle. Although big win for the Niners. Grant, I think Jimmy Graham got hosed in that final play of the game for the Saints.
The pass interference call.
I thought that was a flop of all flops.
Yeah,
Just me. I thought that he barely touched. He touched the guy, but I think it was a lot of acting done. And I'm just saying. I'm not saying. And to be fair, it happens on both sides too. I know for a fact that
yeah,
receivers on any route will fall down whenever a quarter touches their
yeah.
fingers on him. And so
And they'll look to the referees
yeah,
like, hey,
hey.
Yeah, I mean, it really, yeah, I mean,
Flopping has got to be. You know what? The NBA finally did it. I think the other things do it too. They got to start finding people for flopping.
yeah,
It's all you can do it because I think in the NBA, I think what you do in the NBA, it kind of stop a little bit because they weren't big fines, but they do add up after you
yeah,
keep doing them over and over again. So,
yeah,
like I said, to me, it's something I think that hurts. But I thought that was a flop. I thought it was a great catch by Graham, and I thought the Saints got hosed at home pretty much. Grant, the Niners did dominate the majority of that game, so they kind of did deserve the win. And it did stop that home winning streak for the Saints. But I thought the Saints got hosed in that final play.
yeah. Well, I mean, the way I look at it, though, I mean, the Saints, they should win that division.
Oh, I think they should.
I mean,
I think the Panthers are done.
that was
The
a
Bucks are
desperate
definitely
Niners
done.
team.
Somehow they still are in this race. Somehow the Buccaneers.
Yeah, because even like people were saying like if the Falcons like win this week or something, like they could take the division lead if they win.
They're
This
only
week.
one game behind them.
Yeah.
So the Falcons could creep, and they do have that one win over the Saints earlier this year. So they beat them a second time. They got the tiebreaker on them.
Yeah.
But I don't trust Atlanta either. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been that whole division's been spotty all year. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with the Falcons this year. Their offense was clicking on all cylinders
Yeah.
again, and all of a sudden something fell apart here. So
Yeah, I would think the Saints are gonna bounce back, and
yeah,
just before you know it, they'll probably be over 500 and
For
in
me,
a few
they're
weeks.
probably. I'm looking at their schedule. I mean, there are some questionable games still in there yet, but I think their toughest opponent was done with the Niners yet.
Yeah,
So I think 10-6, 11-5, 9-7, still gonna go to win the division. I think in the South,
yeah,
and probably a 4 seed though.
yeah,
They
pretty
might get
much.
maybe a 3 seed. Maybe they get lucky. Maybe the West gets banged up, beats themselves up. Maybe that hurts that division. Maybe the leader. Maybe, uh, the North really it's down to Detroit and Green Bay because Chicago was done.
Yeah,
That was pathetic. That first
they're
half.
yeah. I
I
mean,
never saw a horrendous first half in my life. It's
it
like
was over before it even started.
it was. Aaron Rodgers threw 6 touchdown passes in a half.
Yeah, I mean,
If he would have, if they'd have kept him in the game and kept firing also, he would have had the record.
yeah,
He would have had 8 touchdowns in a game. That's the record
easily.
right there.
Yeah,
But Mike McCarthy gets to say, "Look, we got the win. We don't
yeah,
want to risk hurting Aaron Rodgers."
yeah,
But no, I mean,
yeah.
but like I said, I mean, not to mention there's a big game coming with them next week with the Eagles, so they can't risk hurting Rodgers.
Obviously, yeah,
This,
yeah, and of course,
especially with the Lions still up there, and the Lions didn't have the win over them too, so they gotta
yeah,
get a win back still.
yeah. They got to get a win back on the Lions, the Packers,
Yeah.
at least But yeah, so yeah, that's really that. But I mean, yeah, I mean the way the Packers are playing, I mean, regardless of their record,
Yeah,
they're
6-3, which isn't
and
bad.
the way
It's not bad.
yeah, I mean, and you take into account the first, you take into account the 1-2 start that
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, they lost to the Saints at home, which you would expect, and
Because
desperate Saints team.
the
So
Superdome is still a tough place to play in.
yeah,
It's
and especially yeah,
I said, if you're a 5 seed and that's your opponent, you better not underestimate
yeah,
the Saints in the Superdome.
yeah.
It's still
it's
Sean
not
Payton. It's still
yeah,
Drew Brees. It's still Jimmy Graham.
Brandon Cooks and
Yeah,
some of the new guys.
it's still a very dangerous team that could, if they make the play, when they make the playoffs, still can go to hold at the end of the season could hold that Lombardi Trophy somehow.
Yeah,
Especially in the NFC, because the NFC at this moment, I'm looking at all the
it's
top
kind
tier
of open.
look at the top tier teams, right? I mean, great. The bottom half is different because if you vote Green Bay and Seattle, I like those teams' chances more than let's say a Detroit, Arizona, and Philadelphia, or even a Dallas, just because history's
Yeah.
not on any of these teams' sides here.
And they got those.
I mean,
teams
keep in
got
mind,
the quarterback.
Arizona's was battling already one curse, which was they're hosting the Super Bowl this year,
Yeah.
and there's never been a host team. I mean, I should say that. I mean, the Los Angeles Rams played at Pasadena, California for Super Bowl, which is close to their
Yeah.
stadium. San Francisco played also close to 1 year in the 80s. It was a candlestick they played in. It was close. It was very close to their stadium now. But so there's been 2 opportunities where you kind of like a home team,
Yeah,
but it wasn't in their home stadium though.
right.
So Arizona has would have made history that would have did it this year. So there's that, and also like I said, Carson Palmer just even at Cincinnati this happened with the guy. He does well, and then he gets hurt, and all of a sudden his he kind of screws the team over pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, how the 1 year when Pittsburgh won as a 6 seed, they beat a 1 seed Cincinnati team, and I believe the only reason why they won that game was because Carson Palmer got hurt in that game, I believe. And so the guy's got like this, he has this bad vibe near him in that. Matthew Stafford, same thing. That whole Lions team has a bad vibe.
Yeah.
Once again, people always say they could collapse any moment. They've done in the past.
I mean,
great.
To their credit, they've won some clutch games.
Oh yeah,
but you wonder down the stretch.
But then again, new weapons too. It's not just Calvin Johnson. You got Golden Tate now. New head coach Jim Caldwell is
right. Yeah, new culture.
It's a new culture there. Who can say anything about Philadelphia at the moment here? This team just has always had this laughing stock attached to him here. Oh, but by the way, a Philly quarterback was in that top 10 teases. I don't even know who the guy is.
What? Oh,
top 10 teases.
Well, what was it? It wasn't McNabb.
No. Somebody you never heard of. Somebody you never. Actually,
well, yeah.
Brian Hoyen.
Okay, yeah.
He had one good game, and then everybody thought he was it, and all of a sudden, it just fell apart pretty much.
Yeah.
And he actually, I think he came in replacing Randall Cunningham. And actually, I'm curious. I don't think he's who McNabb replaced, but it's pretty much he pretty much is in that gap between after Cunningham and then McNabb comes in. Then as far as established franchise QBs, then pretty much.
Yeah.
So I mean, and obviously you got Jaworski in there for those few years too, but
earlier on.
But no. But Brian Hoyen who I had to like look up there, but he apparently was. At one point,
Yeah,
looked at as the golden child for Philadelphia and that.
yeah,
And guy that lasted long in the league.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, hey, I mean, you look at, I mean, even to some extent, maybe Michael Vick a few years ago, and maybe even Nick Foles. There's some
I would
teases there.
say though, as far as teases go, he was more of a tease maybe for Atlanta.
Well,
He played there
yeah,
longer.
but then like
I mean, you're right. There was that
after
one.
that
There was that one amazing year, and
that
all of a
one year,
sudden,
yeah, and then it's like,
2, 3, and then it's
yeah,
just kind of.
the 1-4
You could
start
say
the
Nick
next season.
Foles too. I mean, how many guys were putting this guy over as the
If they don't,
greatest QB
yeah,
after that one good season, and then the next year,
yeah,
next year, Mark Sanchez might steal his job then
yeah,
pretty much. I mean,
yeah. That's like that's one of the big stories right now is can Mark Sanchez find him
yeah.
reinvent his career here and
But like I said, they got the Philly curse first of all of the Eagles, and then you
yeah.
got Mark Sanchez who already has this walking curse attached to him.
This dark cloud over him. Yeah,
So I mean, so that doesn't favor Philly, and then of course Dallas. We all know the story of Dallas and that.
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't need to be repeated at all. I mean, granted, they've cracked the egg finally. Maybe this year they finally have found the missing link. I guess you can say.
yeah,
I mean, but then like I said, so what was it leave? You leave the Saints, who have won a Super Bowl, with mainly most of these same guys and the same
yeah.
coach. Probably the Packers,
With
Aaron
probably
Rodgers,
the best quarterback in the league right
who
now.
also won a Super Bowl
Right?
also.
Yeah,
And of course, the defending champion is probably Seattle, who I'm assuming is going to be in
yeah,
that final 6 probably. And then maybe you got to phone San Francisco, and that's about it maybe. But
yeah, yeah. And I know like those AFC West teams. Aside from playing each other, like I know they have some tough games.
yeah,
Like the Chiefs, I know.
yeah.
I think a
The-
couple of them have. There's some
the,
tough
the
games.
Chiefs play Seattle next week.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry, this coming Sunday. So, and like I said, the Chiefs are currently sitting in that comfortable
they're
battle for
6-3.
that. I mean,
There's
granted,
so many teams in it, in the wild card and division
I
in the
mean,
AFC.
don't get me wrong, whoever loses tonight between Buffalo and Miami is out. I think they're pretty
Yeah.
much out. I think that's too big of a hole to climb, even for
Yeah.
the AFC.
They're both 5-4 right now.
Especially since both teams have not faced New England a second time yet, and if that team loses, they're probably going to lose New England second time. So that's 6 losses already. I'm just saying, there's a point where even I think in the AFC that there's a number you can't lose, and then you're out pretty much. So I mean, tonight Miami and Buffalo, that's an elimination game. If you lose that game tonight, that team's done. I think.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, Pittsburgh's not done. Baltimore's not
That whole
done.
division's not done.
Cincinnati's not out of it yet by a long shot.
Cleveland's in the driver's seat.
Yes, Cleveland has a shot. And
Josh Gordon's supposed to be coming back.
Week 12, I believe.
Off suspension.
Yeah, week 12. So, I mean, and Hoyer's already been throwing the deep ball well. And when he has Josh Gordon now in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he was
granted, I don't know how much Gordon's been staying in shape.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually trying to think. What was the one joke that was going around he was doing in supposedly when he was a year-long suspension? We're gonna have a car dealership or something like that, or a car.
I don't know. Something.
It was joked about on like Fox Sports, but that was when it was a 1-year suspension, a whole season.
And he wanted to play in the CFL too. So
yeah.
So I would imagine.
I'm sure the guy stays. Well, especially now since it got reduced now to okay. Well, week 12 you can be eligible now. It's like, well, you better be in shape now because now if your team still has, especially now your team's in first in the division. There's gonna be a lot of Cleveland. Now we talk about Philly fans. Brown fans have been teased to death for years as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that Brian Hoyer, the journeyman quarterback that he is, might be the solution to the problem here. I mean, it's shocking. Now, granted, like I said, it's the North. They got one more matchup with Cincinnati yet and Baltimore yet. So we'll see what happens there. And they do have an interesting non-conference schedule yet. But I could see them maybe, believe it or not, in the North, just because of how evenly matched it is, they could come with the division title somehow, maybe.
Yeah.
Would not surprise me one bit now.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a tight packed division.
Yeah. I mean, the West goes. I mean, it's really down to Kansas City, San Diego. I mean, San Diego's kind of fallen off the map too. But they
could bounce back a little bit this week, and we'll see what they do down the stretch.
I mean, I think Denver's gonna win the West. And I think still gonna get the 1 seed in the AFC. I mean, they just got a way easier schedule than New England. And Grant, people say the same about the Colts too.
Yeah.
They kind of got an easy schedule down the line as well. But I think they benefit from an easy division too, especially with Houston now benching
Fitzpatrick
for Ryan Mallett. Houston needs a quarterback.
They need a quarterback here.
And I mean, Grant, I don't see how long Andre Johnson's going to want to stay with the franchise now since they.
Yeah, I mean, he already wanted to leave, in the off season.
And look at his motivation against Philadelphia. He clearly is not happy being there. So I think the Texans have a shot mathematically still, but I think without a legitimate quarterback, they're not going to make a run to the playoffs. I don't think.
Yeah.
No matter how good J.J. Watt can play that other side of the ball, it's just you need more than a solid defender. Even though this guy can take over a game instantly.
Yeah.
Even in Philadelphia, we saw that he kept that team in that game pretty much. It wasn't because clearly Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't laying it up on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, that if we're going to go for the divisions, I guess that's how I look at it pretty much. And like I said, New England's got the East won already. It's not even close.
Yeah.
But Miami could make a run. Maybe Buffalo could.
I mean, as far as the wild card race goes, there's so many teams in it.
It's wide open for a while. That's gonna be just like last year. It's gonna be 4 teams having a shot at the end of the season, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe even more, but probably 4 at the end of the year.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely in the NFC. I mean, there's like a lot of sense of openness, I guess, as far as
just because of who's on top right now.
Right. Yeah.
Arizona without a starting quarterback. Also, there's never been a team that's played in their stadium in a Super Bowl, so that's going against them. Detroit. Been like a walking accident most seasons. Philly, we already know their history. They got Mark Sanchez history thrown in there.
If they can, I mean, if some kind of miracle,
there's
they can turn them around.
There's Dallas. I mean, the Saints have a shot, but they haven't been playing terrific all season pretty much. They've been 50-50. Green Bay's been doing well, but they got a questionable defense. And Seattle, who knows, really. I mean, granted, they finally, I think, have found their winning ways again.
A little bit, yeah. This week, I mean, in the second half, they turned it on against the Giants.
That's fine. That doesn't matter. They finally have shown. They finally showed up. Finally,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
they finally played like they were supposed to play all season.
Yeah, like the second. Yeah, I mean, they look more like the Seahawks that we're more familiar.
Yes.
I mean, the Giants, they'll like hang with the team sometimes, but then, then Seattle will come
because we have Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin as coach. You can hang with guys in that.
I mean, that was kind of like the Dallas and Giants game when they were hanging with the Giants for the first half, and then second half they just ran away.
I mean, like I said, we already know the deal with Dallas. San Francisco's been. I mean, I don't really know what to say about San Francisco this year. I mean,
well, I think now Patrick Willis, I think,
is out for the year, which is big. I mean, they're already missing guys big on defense already, so that's a big loss. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick really has not been laying it up on the quarterback position this year.
Oh no!
The head coach is probably going to be out by the end of the year, so that franchise could easily be thinking the R word maybe come next year, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see.
Like I said, we'll see. They still have a shot, and they do have the easiest non-conference schedule compared to the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Well, I should say non-divisional schedule. Like they have Washington on their list yet, and I mean, so San Francisco can maybe win those games, but granted, they still got to play Seattle twice, Arizona one more time, and like I said, they lose all 3 of those games, they're done. They're not going to be in the wild card. Forget winning the division; they're not winning the wild card.
Now, as far as wild card, if you think about it, San Francisco, if they were to finish the same record as say like a
Philadelphia,
Philadelphia
or Dallas, Dallas and Philly are out.
But because that's one of those interesting like caveats right now. If they finish with the same, but
here's another thing too here. If let's say the NFC East Division champion becomes a 3rd seed, and maybe the wild card becomes a 6th seed, that means you would have the showdown between Philly and probably Dallas and the wild card. Now, granted, that would probably favor Dallas just because, great, depending on how the regular season games go out, but great, Romo's only win in his career was against Philly, So history from the playoff perspective would be on Romo's side, especially if they would be the 3rd seed, we'd be the 6th seed, and they got to the 3rd seed because they beat us in the regular season in that. Like I said, I do like Dallas win the division now. I still like that just because. I mean, it might change, granted, because we'll see how Mark does at Lambeau. Yeah. I mean, Philly fans got to admit though. Most of them might expect us to lose at Lambeau, but if they want to be a contender, not just for the Super Bowl this year, but also the division, they got to win those games. And all the games they played in that involved a team that was in the NFC that was considered a contender, they've lost.
Yeah. Granted.
Yeah. Nick
We
Foles,
know it was,
Nick
and
Foles,
we're interested to see, if Mark Sanchez can, maybe,
and the games were close, but at the
yeah,
end of the day, they were losses.
yeah,
Now, Grant, I think they played Arizona a second time without Carson Palmer. I think they would actually win because
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, Mark Sanchez, Drew Stanton, I mean,
yeah,
I probably would lean more towards
see,
Sanchez,
yeah,
even though Stanton hasn't really played bad.
yeah. Stanton's no Mark Sanchez,
But
but yeah,
Stanton is also no Carson Palmer either, who's a
right,
way better quarterback. I think the guy Palmer has had ability. He's had this injury problem
yeah,
for years, which is why Cincinnati pretty much got rid of him as quarterback because
yeah,
it's like you can deliver Mark, but you got to stay healthy, and when he can't stay healthy, you kind of cripple our quarterback situation. Then like I said, Detroit's an interesting scenario because we beat them last year. Granted, that was during a blizzard, which I think really hindered the Lions' deep ball presence, really,
yeah,
because nobody was throwing the ball was 20 yards down the field in a blizzard.
yeah,
And if you're Calvin, Calvin did make that one nice catch though, the one time. That was about it. Like
yeah,
during the blizzard, you really couldn't throw the ball.
yeah.
You could even barely run the ball because especially during the
You just had to run straight up, basically.
well, I remember right. I think most of the offense happened after the snow stopped, pretty much, and it was just on the field then, because then the vision was cleared up more. It wasn't
Yeah,
as windy. It wasn't like people like trying to push to get something
yeah,
like the environment. I mean, I believe that's when like McCoy went on a kind of spree in the second half, which ended up winning the game for us. I mean, great, it was still kind of a close game at the end of the day. I mean, really could have gone to both teams, but I think the weather played a key factor in that. And I think it favored us more than Detroit because I don't believe they had Reggie Bush at that time. I believe he was
I don't
out
know.
with an
Yeah, he
injury.
might have been out with it.
So, and really without Reggie Bush, they don't really have a deep running back core.
Yeah,
We had McCoy, who was the top rusher. So, when you take out the passing game, which is kind of big for Detroit with Calvin Johnson out there, you got to rely on your running game now more of anything. I mean, the weather favored us due to that. But I think we would have played in a clearer game. I think it would have been closer. I think maybe even the Lions could have won that game too, which would have been
maybe.
big because
Yeah, I mean,
that would have affected the division race last year.
yeah, and I mean after that game, Detroit collapsed too, so
Yeah.
that was a big game, and yeah, and speaking of weather conditions, I mean, up in Lambeau Field, I heard like with the wind chill, it
Yeah.
could be in the teens, and there could be a chance of snow actually up there at
Oh, boy.
Lambeau.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean obviously it's a freezing place to play in,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean I guess we'll see how the team handles that because I mean, and especially like see how the defense can handle that as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I mean they're coming off of a 50-degree weather game at night, and amongst other
Yeah.
games. I mean, this is suddenly you're stepping into a an ice bowl here that is Lambeau Field, and it's going to be a weather-wise it's going to be tough. And I'll be interested to see what the at least what the front seven can do, but obviously the secondary I would expect is going to have a tough time with Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb
Yes.
and Rodgers throwing to them.
Not,
But I like what I
not to
like.
mention Eddie Lacy in the backfield.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah,
They definitely have a running game in that
yeah,
offense. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers is just a master
yeah.
a
He's having
master among men, pretty much.
yeah,
But the guy just when you watch him play football, the guy it's almost like everybody
yeah.
stands still. Pretty much.
Hasn't thrown a pick in his his home games this year. The 4 home games, I think he's like
Yeah.
18 touchdowns and 0 interceptions or whatever.
Yeah, and like I said,
So
that's who Mark's going up against. Like I said, Monday night he had a little help from the other team's quarterback, especially the opening
well, yeah,
first 2 drives. He had a lot of help from the other team's quarterback in that game. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to give him as much help there. So
yeah,
he's going to have to make plays. And first of all, a hostile environment, not a home environment.
yeah,
Bad weather probably too.
yeah,
I mean,
cold,
let's see how much the psyche for Mark Sanchez can last in this game.
yeah,
Granted, the other big news is that it's going to be a battle of brothers, Casey Matthews and
yeah,
Clay Matthews. Granted that they're not going to face each other once in the game,
right, yeah.
but they always
You get the
they
point.
always have those up. But
Yeah,
granted, Casey's no Clay either. So,
yeah,
but like I said, for me, Dallas is a bye week. Of course, they're 7-3, and everybody expects Green Bay to probably win, and I do see Green Bay winning this game. If Mark wins, though, it's big because
if they win.
It's a pretty
If
big.
they win, then people, what people are going to be talking about.
Yeah, but like I said, look at their schedule. I like Dallas right now, especially. Really, there's only one team that. Wow, let's look at the schedules now.
Yeah,
Philly's got Green Bay.
Loss, yeah.
Yeah, lost, but they probably
Maybe they'll. I mean, I'm hoping they hang in there, maybe. But
I'm just saying, at their 7 wins right now, they need to have at least one big win if they want to be considered a contender. Even if they make the playoffs, they got to be considered. They'll be considered a 10. They got to have one
yeah,
big win in their schedule, and their biggest win right now is still the Colts, who if they lose to New England Patriots and get clobbered by the Patriots, which could happen,
yeah, could.
it's kind of like okay, we beat this team. It's gonna be probably in the AFC playoffs, Grant, because it's in they're playing the South, and everybody in the South is kind of a joke. Besides the Colts right now, it's not like it's an impressive resume there.
Yeah.
At least with Dallas, like I said earlier, they beat Seattle, who I think is I think could still win this division and probably maybe get the 1 seed. Which is, if that's the case, better the rest of the NFC because Seattle still is a tough place to play in plus win in because they still have only lost twice in the last like 3 years there. So I mean, and all the losses besides the game against Dallas have been on the road. So you want to face Seattle, you probably want to face them on the road, not at home. So we'll see what happens there towards the end of the season. But after Green Bay, there's Tennessee. Probably should be a win because Zach Mettenberger. I don't know what happened with Tennessee this year. I thought Jake Locker had something. I thought they had a chance maybe to steal something in the South. Clearly fell apart at some point early this year. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if Mark Sanchez blows that game. So then that's a short break because then Thanksgiving, Dallas. Now,
right back.
I would go Dallas for two things. One, because this is tradition for Dallas football.
Right. Yeah.
They're used to playing Thursday night games pretty much because they play one annually.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Actually, we'll get that later. But after that, then they got to host Seattle, which I'm telling you right now, they're going to be firing all cylinders. It's not going to be a walk in the park. Once again, it's one of those games where I think they lose, but if they win, it's an impressive win for Philly. Once again, it adds to that resume that they kind of. I'm looking at the win losses. Everybody's seeing 7-10. I'm seeing who's in that 7 win column now, and who's in that 2 loss column. And to me, those 2 big losses already eclipse all those 7 wins they have pretty much, just because of who they lost to.
Yeah.
Lost to San Francisco and Arizona. 2 teams that we would probably face in the playoffs in the NFC. So those are big losses over the 7 teams that probably none of them, except for maybe Indianapolis right now, will be in the playoffs. And more importantly, we wouldn't even face Indianapolis unless we got to the Super Bowl, and that's even if the Colts made it to the Super Bowl. So, but in my mind, the 7 wins don't mean that much. So then they go to Dallas. Now, you said you would probably both agree they're probably going to lose on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
just because
it's probably split with Dallas, and
Here's why I kind of against that though, because Dallas plays Thursday night the next week against Chicago. They get a 10-day break then against us. Yeah, that's 3 extra days there, Tyler. I mean and I mean once again, and who knows how banged up we're going to be because let's face it, when we faced one defense that was heavy hitting with J.J. Watt, we had a lot of injuries.
Yeah,
I mean, so the Texans in that game, but. Maybe Seattle bangs up some of our guys in that. Next thing you know, we're coming in limping against Dallas.
I mean, they're second. I mean, right now I think their secondary is there's more the Seattle's defense strength.
I'll disagree, but at the same time, I don't know if Cooper and Macklin can handle heavy hits when the ball comes near them. That's not really something that they're used to all season, especially even Jordan Matthews, who's a pretty big guy too. But so then there's Dallas. And after that, then it's Washington and New York at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you assume guaranteed wins. Granted, it's divisional games, the division rivalries, so anything can happen. Records really don't matter in those games.
Yeah. Those teams will be spoiled, plain spoilable.
Exactly, because at that point they're pretty much done. But like I said, the both teams want to finish strong. Washington, New York, and they're both on the road too. So MetLife's gonna be rocking, and so will Washington. So it's gonna be. So that's their schedule. So I'm going to Dallas. Got a bye coming up this week, finally. They finally got their bye week, finally. Actually, I think we only got one more bye week in week 12, and that's it. And then everybody's got their bye weeks, and then after that, everybody has the same schedule then. So it's easy to figure out, okay, how many games are you behind and all that. So Dallas is going to face at New York then. Now, the first game was close at Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is on the road, and we,
I mean,
I mean, it's interesting there, but I mean, at the same time, this is a Dallas team that I think has cracked the code this year. I think.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I said, let me put it this way, Tyler. Worst case scenario, I think on the Eagles' schedule is they lose 4 games. 4 games.
If they,
remaining
I mean,
7,
if they lose 4,
which is
they might not even make it.
and that's including they lose twice to Dallas, 1 to Seattle, and 1 to Green Bay. So that 10-6, that might be good enough to make a wild card berth. Grant, if the 49ers, the Niners are also 10-6, we're out then, and that's the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Then I mean, like I said,
plus
Arizona had a 10-6 record last year too, and they even missed the.
Plus, then you already lost to Arizona and Seattle if that was, and then basically
also Green Bay, who might also be bound for that wild card spot.
Yeah,
that's why this Green Bay game is big too. There, because like I said, assuming we don't win the division, these are pretty big tiebreaker games.
Yeah.
Seattle and Green Bay coming. I mean, we already lost to Arizona and San Francisco. And those are already other big tiebreaker games. So we lose these to Green Bay and Seattle. We lost the tiebreaker for almost everybody in the wild card, which means you almost have to win the division then to make the playoffs. Because I don't think all 3 of those teams are going to fold at the end of the year. I think all of them are going to find their magic towards the end of the year. Definitely Seattle and San Francisco, and definitely Green Bay, who really hasn't lost it this year. So then we have, we go to Dallas' schedule then. So then after New York, they got
Thanksgiving
us. Then they go and then they play Chicago again on Thursday night. So they play 2 Thursday night games back to back. Well, because it's tradition. They always play on Thanksgiving. Dallas, just like Detroit. But then they play Chicago. And at this point, I know Chicago killed them last year. But this Chicago team just is.
They're not really playing for much anymore.
They're mentally just not there.
Yeah, I mean they have weapons, but they just their culture is not very good.
Yeah. So I would be shocked if Chicago could find any kind of muscle and beat Dallas at this point. But like I said, I wouldn't say I'm shocked. I would say it would shock me. Granted, it would still be November. The month of November, I believe, so it would be in December, so it was not like So
it's not that time period or whatever.
So of course, then it's Philadelphia again, at Philly. Once again, I could see Dallas being as both times because 10-day break, second time, and first meeting it's on Thanksgiving, which they're used to playing on. We're not used to playing on Thanksgiving that often. So there's that, and then they ended with Indy, which I think will definitely.
It's
at Indy, I believe. I think Dallas ends just like we do. I think they end. No, wait. I think they end.
Well, they play. I think they play Indy and then they play Washington last.
Both on the road, I believe. So they end just like us. The end of. That's kind of funny about between Dallas and Philly. I think that final matchup. That's our final home game. That's our final home game for us, I believe.
Yeah. Basically, we finished with our last 3 games are the division rivals. And
yes. But
Dallas
was the final home game. That's the last 2 on the road. Dallas, I believe, after. Actually, that'd be a weird thing because that means Dallas would finish end the season with 3 straight road games. Then, if I'm following the schedule right.
I guess
because let's see, they're at New York. They're at New York. They host us. They host Chicago.
Yeah.
And
then then on the road to Philadelphia.
Yeah, so they're on the road to Philly. Then I believe
on the road to Indianapolis.
I believe.
And then Washington.
So they end the season with 3 straight road games then.
Yeah.
Which well, that's even assuming I think Indy. I don't know.
Maybe Indy is home.
But
obviously Philly and Washington.
Because 3 straight home games is kind of even unusual for an NFL schedule, especially towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
You usually want to keep them as fair as possible towards the end of the year because that way.
That might be. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that might be home. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's something to look
I'm
up.
gonna say that's home because I'm just saying 6 games. So Indy, like I said, we'll see where Indy is at that point.
Yeah.
That could easily be a win or a loss the way I see it. And of course Washington, who beat them earlier, but then again, Dallas I think wants revenge probably.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is, I think Philly needs a lot more help from Dallas than anything right now. I mean, but like I said, if Philly beats Green Bay, that's a big win then because that's a win that most people thought we weren't going to get.
Yeah,
and it puts more pressure on the Dallas Cowboys then, who would be 1 game behind us. I mean, one of the only half.
I mean, if they were to beat Green Bay, then then I think it's like almost a guarantee that they're going to get one of the top two seeds.
Well, yeah,
I
probably.
mean, them. I mean, that would mean that even too that would mean that Green Bay would fall to 6-4 if you think about it.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be a that'd be a big swing, but
Well, they would be tied with San Francisco in that.
yeah,
Like I said, that all it means that also, assuming Detroit beats Arizona, Detroit would have a 2-game lead over them too.
yeah,
And Detroit could falter, but at the same time, if Detroit keeps winning, Green Bay has to keep up pace with them.
right,
That's
yeah,
the thing too. It's a must win for both Green Bay and Philly. Both teams can't lose that game
yeah,
for a number of Philly, because Dallas's final 6 are easier than Philly's final 6.
yeah,
I mean, like I said, we lose. We're both 7-3. I'm just looking at the schedule, the records of those teams, and the quality and so on. There, and like I said, I'm just saying it's easier. Dallas has a more consistent running game. I'd say deeper receiving core than us.
yeah.
I mean, you could
Mm,
make an argument for the front 7. I think their secondary is stronger than our
yeah.
secondary.
Well, yeah. I mean, it probably is.
Special teams, I guess you can give an advantage to us, even though Dan Bailey's no joke as a kicker.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, quarterback. Tony Romo, I think, is better than Mark Sanchez.
yeah,
I mean, we're talking about the black cloud over Tony Romo's career. Let's not forget the black cloud over
yeah.
Mark Sanchez's career. Now, granted, like I said, he could, if he turns this around,
See now,
if he wins his
yeah.
final, if Philly wins their final 7, which I think would be just unheard of,
Well, yeah.
and they go 14-2,
14
they get the number 1 seed. They first of all, I would say they're just saying it up for failure then, because I would not be shocked if we then host, I don't know, the Saints, or let's say, I don't know, the Seattle Seahawks, or somebody in the division game, and we get our ass kicked in the division game, and then we're done because it's Mark Sanchez still,
Yeah.
and this guy still has the black cloud over his head. Like, for I don't know, I want to say it this way. That would be great if we had the 1 seed, home field advantage, because I think that's really the only chance this team has a chance of making it, because I feel like, actually, I think we're undefeated at home right now, I believe, too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So one reason why maybe home advantage would benefit the team, because they're clearly not as strong on the road as they are at home in that. And Philly is a wild place to play in that, but I'm also saying, I think the higher Mark elevates himself, the higher the harder the fall is going to be, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because of who he is.
Yeah.
Then. So I'd rather, if they made the playoffs, they just squeaked in.
Yeah.
So at least then the expectations for Mark would be so low then.
Yeah.
Because it was, if we're the 1 seed and Mark's the quarterback, the expectations for Mark would be
high.
Because
Yeah.
that's like, well, we have to make the Super Bowl then.
Yeah.
You don't just go 1 and then losing in your first playoff game.
Yeah.
Now, great, it's Mark Sanchez. It could happen. But, yeah, I mean, to me, that puts way more pressure on him than if we fell apart here and there and we barely made it in that. Now, granted, we could also not make it in, too, and all of a sudden Nick Foles is the guy again. All of a sudden. I mean, I always wonder with quarterbacks this year, do they want their backups to succeed or fail, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
If you're Nick Foles, would you rather want Mark to succeed or fail, pretty much?
Well, and also, if you saw, like, I don't know if you saw in the Panthers game when, Cam Newton was getting beat around and, like, the backup quarterback was, like, on the sideline, like, laughing with somebody. It was, I mean, it was, like, everyone, like, people were wondering, like, are they going to, like, take Cam Newton out here or something? Because he just doesn't look the same. And, Coach Ron Rivera was saying, like, no, Cam Newton's not injured or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't know. If you saw what happened on the field, it's kind of hard to believe there's not some injuries or lingering, But,
but you don't know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
It might benefit Mark Sanchez because of who he is, not to keep in mind. Those 2 years he went to the division, the college championship too. No one had the Jets going that far in the playoffs. Yeah. So maybe it would benefit them if we weren't the 1 seed or even the 2 seed, or hell, maybe even the 3 seed in that. Now, granted, I still here's my belief here. The NFC East is still going to be a 1-team playoff this year, so you have to win the division. I think just because, as much as the West, we hope the West beats each other up, and as much as we hope that Green Bay and Detroit are not going to beat each other up. We're going to have to hope that 1 team just collapses in their non-divisional games, pretty much. I don't see it happening. Either Detroit or Green Bay. I think those 2 teams are a lock to make it, just because of who they play at the end of the year, pretty much. Probably Detroit more than Green Bay, because Green Bay does have Tom Brady on their list as a non-divisional game.
Yeah,
I mean,
that'll be quite a
there are
game.
some teams on the Green Bay schedule that I don't like, but I do see Green Bay maybe beating Detroit in the second meeting. But at the same
Yeah,
time, I think Detroit might hang on to get the division crown, maybe just due to their schedule.
yeah, it might. Yeah,
But I think Green Bay wins enough to get in as a wild card, probably as a fifth seed, which would mean it's Green Bay against New Orleans again in the Superdome,
yeah,
probably, which would be an interesting matchup because we know what happened Sunday when it was at the Superdome again. Granted, there's a reason players called the second regular season. It's we get just
yeah.
to
Right.
redo
Yeah,
everything. So like I said, the sixth seed then it's probably down between Seattle, San Francisco, and whoever maybe doesn't win the NFC East. And like I said earlier, if we lose to Seattle and we lose to San Francisco, and actually if you're Seattle, that's what you're kind of hoping we falter too because Dallas is a tiebreaker advantage over Seattle right now.
right. Yeah,
So if you're Seattle and you get that sixth seed, maybe you kind of are hoping it's us, not
yeah. Head to head.
especially if they beat us head to head in that. So I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, it's interesting right now when you can start following teams there. But I'm just saying, let me put it this way: Mark wasn't bad, but there were clearly question marks in that game.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, there was like miscues, like Riley Cooper.
He almost threw a big pick too.
Yeah,
And that
Which-
Carolina Panthers defender didn't have that foot on the line. That was
Yeah.
like that was he underthrew the guy. Like
Yeah.
it was.
which yeah, I mean, which
Now there were things
comes with yeah.
there were things I
expectation.
liked that he did in the pocket that Nick didn't do. He stayed in the pocket. He scrambled when he needed to scramble.
Right.
He got the ball out way faster than
He-
Nick ever did. If you watch it, really.
Yeah, like I think like somebody said like the average was like 2.5 for Sanchez,
Yeah.
2.5 seconds, and 2.8 for Nick Foles this season or whatever. And yeah, I mean, let's keep in mind like a lot of that time, Foles might be spending backpedaling or whatever. And,
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there are some things I like about Mark, but at the same time, he has this black cloud over him,
yeah.
which is.
It'll be interesting to see. It's
I mean, like I said, if he does it, I'll put it this way: if he gets us to the Super Bowl, just gets us there, greatest comeback player
Well,
in history.
yeah.
Now, great. If he gets us there, it's either probably he gets Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I don't like our odds in any of
Yeah.
those matchups
yeah,
whatsoever. I mean, if anything, probably
I agree.
maybe Tom Brady because he does have a positive edge. Oh, Mark does have the decision of having Brady's
Yeah.
number more or less. And it's not like once again, New England. Somehow Brady's able to do it with almost nobody. There is Darrelle Revis on the other side of the ball, which once again would add more to that drama
Yeah.
for Mark Sanchez because here's the guy that technically helped him get to those championship games. Now he might be facing the Super Bowl. But I'd be shocked if it's not New England or Denver coming out of the AFC at this point. I
Yeah.
mean, there's really as competitive as the rest of the field is. It's really a two-man race in
yeah,
the
those
AFC.
two, yeah,
Now the NFC, just because of who's at top right now, who the teams are on top right now, it's anybody's game really.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Seattle could be a 6 seed, but I can see them still making the Super Bowl as a 6 seed probably.
yeah.
Just because it's because they don't have this bad stench attached to them like the Lions, the Cardinals, the Eagles, the Cowboys do.
Yeah,
And then play a little more consistent than the Saints have probably this year.
yeah, and then plus Green Bay as well. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
You
Same
got
thing.
Aaron Rodgers has been there.
So even if they
done
don't win the division, they're still gonna be a dangerous team. You don't want to face in the playoffs.
that. Yeah, tough team either way. So yeah, those two teams. Yeah, I mean, obviously a big test for Mark Sanchez
Yes.
this week, and I kind of like it's kind of like a mini Super Bowl before the Thanksgiving game, and big test to maybe really see where where Mark Sanchez can go here, and
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like Mark Sanchez and Chip Kelly, like what it's kind of like what can he do with Mark Sanchez, and I don't know, can he bring out the best in Mark Sanchez? It'll be interesting to see, but yeah, obviously Sanchez, I mean, he does have some of those flaws, and he has that dark cloud that you wonder if that's going to come back to bite him this season.
Yeah.
In the long run. But yeah, I mean, there was some good things he did in the pocket. Certainly, he was able to slide and get out of the way and avoid sacks.
I mean, like I said though, I also knew who we were facing Monday night too, and it wasn't
Yeah.
like it's not like the Panthers are a team going on the up right
right,
now.
yeah. But at least they
As
don't,
I said, if he beats Green Bay, it's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Then. Granted, it puts the Packers in a very dim light. Then, like I said,
Yeah.
Green Bay does have. It's not like Green Bay has this electric defense either. That's
Right.
been their big weakness.
they have some playmakers, but
Well,
still,
it's
they
pretty
can.
much Clay Matthews. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
you don't have Clay. If Clay's gone. I think like last year,
Like last
that
season,
defense
he
just
wasn't
falls
100,
apart.
yeah.
He's pretty much the captain of that defense.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I think the one benefit though is they have Aaron Rodgers on the side of the ball, and like I said, I don't think our secondary can stop Randall Cobb and a Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
And at one point, you still got Eddie Lacy in the backfield, who's really been a pretty solid consistent back for
Yeah.
most of his career so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Like I said, if for example, if a running game is like 37 yards against Green Bay, we're not winning the game.
Yeah. Probably not. Although I would think that they're gonna. I don't know. They're gonna try to get Shady running the ball well. I mean, the running game.
He had 19 handoffs against Carolina. I think he only got like what 19? What 12 yards maybe, I believe.
Which is a little low by as far as carries go. But then again, I mean, he wasn't really running the ball a whole lot. But I mean, when they needed a good run, like when they wanted a good touchdown run play, I mean, they got one from Darren Sproles, and they had that wide open one with LaShawn McCoy on the 1 yard line, which was which worked out. So I mean, at least in terms of when they need to get a touchdown, they were able to do that with the run game, even though they only had a few measly 37 yards.
And maybe the 3 interceptions by Cam Newton helped out too a little
bit. Yeah.
I'm just saying, Tyler, it's a different scenario.
And the defense sacking him 9 times too. I mean, was obviously but I mean certainly
3.5 was Connor Baldwin, and I think he had
3.5. Yeah, he had a sack fumble.
I believe he had 3 against Houston too. I believe.
Well, I know he had 3 against the Giants.
I know he has 10. I know he's second in the league with 10.5. That great.
Yeah.
A majority of those were only on 2 games, and there's been most of his games he's recorded 0, and he's kind of been almost like a no-show really as far as stats go.
Well, I mean, sometimes it depends on their game plan. I guess I don't know.
And maybe who you're facing too, and
yeah, I mean, how the other team's game plan against.
Not to mention, is Connor getting these sacks because someone other defenders is covering the guy who usually would cover him on the offensive line. She's getting like free sacks because, in my mind, any defender can get those sacks pretty much because.
Well, he was definitely making. I mean, there was that one he just like barreled over the one offensive lineman from Carolina and then just like dove in there like a Clay Matthews.
But did you see what I mean? There are those times where a guy gets a free sack just because. There's somebody, maybe it's a linebacker, just comes in and they plug in that lineman. And all of a sudden, there's nobody. All of a sudden, there's nobody that's got this guy, and all of a sudden, it's a free sack. I'm saying any defender.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just responding to your comment where you said guy could be a Pro Bowler. Now, great. It's public opinion. At the end of the day, it's the popular vote, so we'll see. I mean, I'd be shocked if anybody from this Philly defense got made to the Pro Bowl. But
well, I mean, if at this rate, I mean, if he's tied for second in the league in sacks overall, I mean, that's probably a. If he continues at this pace, I mean, that's a shoo-in. If you're second in the league,
I'm just saying, if he had maybe like 2.5 against Aaron Rodgers, maybe or something, I'd be more impressed.
Let's see.
Look at this whole season though,
yeah.
And the bulk of those 10.5 though only on 2 games, really.
Well,
and the rest of
the Giants won as well. I mean,
well, actually, no. That was the second one. The Giants he had 3, and he had 3.5, so 6.5 out of his 10.5. So there's and I think. There was maybe 2 against someone, I believe, and then there was 1 against somebody else.
Probably Kaepernick.
But then, like 4 games, they hit 0.
Yeah.
And look at the stats; he was a no-show pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, Tyler, do you look? It's overall, but when you break down the season, did the guy really have a great season, or is he just having made great plays in one game, a few great plays in one game, and then?
Yeah.
I mean, also, at the end of the day, he had 3, but there were 6 total for Cam, and I believe against Eli we had 9.
Yeah.
So can you also maybe just say it was bad planning for the other side of the team too?
Well, I mean, it's not even just getting sacks though, but just disrupting the quarterback and stuff.
But like I said, you might be right because it is popular vote, and some people just look at certain elements. Yeah. Also, I think some people get into Pro Bowl that don't deserve to be in a Pro Bowl, but but that's what you get for popular vote because some people just don't look at facts. I think when they do these things.
Yeah. But I mean, voting aside, I mean, even because it's at the end of the day, I mean, what does a Pro Bowl really mean, anyways?
Well, no, it's probably the most meaningless one ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
but just the fact guys are stepping up.
I mean, for me, maybe besides the NHL one, which I still am trying to figure out the point of that.
The All-Star game.
Well, no, just because I think it was. I believe they switched it. Isn't it American versus world now, which makes those.
It used to be, it used to be Eastern versus Western Conference, and
I mean, I know hockey's trying to get ratings at this moment. Now this is it's not a popular sport anymore. I mean, I know you're a big hockey fan,
I'm not. I
but
mean,
I'm just,
no. I know. It's
it's not as big as it was years ago. Is what
Yeah,
I'm trying to
right.
say.
Yeah,
To me, during the miracle the miracle team, that was kind of during its peak, maybe in popularity, I
yeah,
think. But then again, you also had guys who skated back in the day with no helmets on either,
yeah,
and they wore like Jason Murder Mask or
yeah.
the goalie. That I mean, but now it's like there's so much protection. Granted, it's clearly one of the fastest sports ever. But I'm just saying, it's
Well, no, I know that.
yeah.
No, no, and I mean, I don't. I'm not really huge on the All Star game for the NHL as it is.
I mean, for me, besides, I mean, Major League Baseball probably is the biggest one, just because that actually goes towards the World Series in the end of the day, home field
Yeah,
advantage. So you have to win that
yeah, and
game.
you got the home run derby, and yeah,
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like I said, the NBA is great because you got the
yeah,
skills challenge, the rookie challenge, the slam dunk
yeah,
contest, which I know people said it's lost its luster, but there have been some years where you see a dunk that looks like
yeah,
amazing. 3-point shootout I think is also impressive too. Because I mean, for some guys to make that many 3-pointers consistently is pretty
yeah.
impressive. I think. I mean, so I like the NBA. I would say the NBA maybe second behind MLB right now, just because of how well they planned it. Football though might just be in front of the NHL maybe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean,
I really don't like I really hate the MLS concept because it's MLS All Stars I believe versus like some European team like maybe
yeah,
Man U and we get and all happens the MLS All Stars get killed by Man U maybe
yeah,
because you got the best athletes
yeah,
in the world for in soccer gets the best quote unquote American soccer athletes
yeah,
which and some are European stars but they're mainly scrubs from Europe too so it's not that
yeah,
impressive there so it's kind of embarrassing more than anything.
yeah,
But I would probably put the Pro Bowl slightly ahead of maybe the NHL one. So maybe it's the third most popular,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
I mean, great. They try. I do like this. I do like the concept of them playing it a week ahead of the Super Bowl, though. That's better than playing a week after, I
yeah,
think. Like I said, granted, it's still. I still think it's not going to be that competitive a game. Really, most of the guys barely tackle, and
yeah.
because nobody wants to get hurt at the end of the day. Granted, I mean, I like the Jerry Rice and Emmett Smith concept. I believe.
Last
Yeah,
year, yeah.
Team Smith, Team Rice. I actually like that deal. So I don't know. We'll see what
It'll be interesting, yeah, going forward. But yeah,
kind of like fantasy draft in real life. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'll see we'll see how the Eagles, how they handle this test against Green Bay, and cold weather, possibly snowy up in Lambeau. And yeah, we'll talk about it next week as always, as usual on TW Sports Talk. So yeah, stay tuned for that as always, and yeah, we'll be back next week to talk more playoff scenarios and Eagles and whatever else in the NFL. So stay tuned for that as always.